Hi, everybody, and welcome to the show where we get to chat with the great speakers that will be coming to the Customer Service Revolution, formerly the Secret Service Summit. That's this October 2018 in Cleveland, Ohio, October 24th and 25th. And today, I am honored to be joined by Judson Laipply. Justin, thanks for joining us today. We appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So let me tell our viewers a little bit about you because you have such a fascinating story. So first of all, you are what is known as a YouTube sensation, right? So you have a YouTube video out there that has over, and maybe this is even updated since I saw this, but over 100 million views.
It has been a little updated. So now it sits at about 305 million views.
That is amazing. And here's the great thing about your story. So in our world today, people kind of go to YouTube and become famous and kind of start a career from that. You had a great career before YouTube, right? You were already a keynote speaker. You have your master's degree in psychology. You were out there spreading great information, great knowledge, and then it just kind of came along and helped you to spread that even more.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I was very, very fortunate because when I put my video up, YouTube was not something that people it wasn't even a common household term yet. It was one of those things where it was a very small platform. They were really good at putting their watermark on the videos that they use. Because when YouTube was founded, it was designed not to be a destination site as much as it was just a way to compress video so that if the founder said that they shared the story that they were at a party and they had taken some video on their phone and they went to send it to everyone who was there, but they realized that half of them didn't have a fast enough internet connection to download the whole video. And they realized that there was nowhere that they could go to create a link that they could just send the link then to everyone. So I originally put the video up because some students had asked me to put the full version of a dance onto my MySpace profile, which will give you an idea back when this was all taking place.
Yes.
And I said, sure, that sounds great. How do you do that? And they're like, we don't really know either, but we've seen videos in other people's MySpace pages. So I went and found some bands and some artists that had video up, and there were a couple sites available, but YouTube was one that had their watermark in the bottom corner of every video that they embedded into MySpace. So I went to the YouTube website. It was really easy user interaction. You know, when you talk about customer service, when they first got started, they were really smart because their user interface was super easy for anyone that didn't have to have any sort of coding ability. You uploaded a video, it spit out an HTML code. I could copy it and then paste it directly into my MySpace profile. And thus began really what was just an incredible, unique experience. And for me, it was nice because I already had established myself as a speaker. Then I had this explosion of exposure, and I was able to really utilize and leverage that to continue moving forward in the direction that I desired. There's a lot of people that become famous because of an internet sensation of some sort, and then they try to pivot without having any foundation in what it is they're pivoting towards to try to take advantage of something that happened to them. Whereas some people get lucky like myself and they have this shot of virality or a viral experience that just helps continue them forward and gives them kind of a rocket boost further ahead in their career.
Yeah, such a cool story. And you were really on the cutting edge of what YouTube is today and helped to shape what it is today. And it's so interesting. I'm thinking as you're speaking, you know, how you're talking about YouTube was really just a platform to share video and compress video. And today it's the second largest search engine we have behind Google. It's amazing how that's transformed.
Yeah, it's crazy when you think about nobody sends emails around anymore with links to video. You know, if you think 10 years ago or even maybe 8 years ago, you know, YouTube's about 12 to 13 years old, you know, roughly, depending upon how you look at it. And people would have, like, I'm sure you probably had a relative, an uncle or a grandma or, you know, a cousin or someone that would like send a weekly email with links to different videos. It would link back to YouTube. And those were kind of what went viral back then. Whereas now, and this is a testament to YouTube who saw this coming, no one does that anymore. So now YouTube is a destination site where people go to. I mean, that's the first thing I do. Everything I think about, how do you do this? Oh, let me go check YouTube to see a video. And it really has become a learning platform as well as a broadcast platform for people to broadcast what it is. But a lot of people go there just to find out information.
Yes, absolutely. I know my kids do that every day.
I was getting ready. I might be building a shed sometime soon, and I was going to buy like a kit. And then I was like, well, I'll just watch YouTube videos, and that'll help me figure out how to put it together.
Right. Let me ask you this. Thanks to your 300 plus million views, you've been on a lot of television shows talking about what you created, which is the evolution of dance. I know we'll get into that a little later in our chat here. You've been on a lot of television shows. In my household, the real mark of success is that you've been on the Ellen Show, because I have 2 girls and my wife loved that show. I'm just curious, of all the opportunities you've had, late night TV, the talk shows, what's been your favorite?
I mean, Ellen was fantastic. You know, I've always enjoyed Ellen just as an entertainer back when I knew her as not me personally knowing her, but watched her as a comedian. And then it's funny because when Oprah was Oprah, now the younger generation doesn't know or connect with Oprah as much. And so I think that's why Ellen has kind of taken the place of what Oprah was. There was a time period when I had been on both Oprah and another show called Tosh.0, which was in like its 3rd season. And I would go and I could tell how old someone was by the way they reacted to those 2 things. If they looked at me and were like, what's Tosh.0? I don't know. I kind of knew what they did and, you know, what their personality was. And then other people would be like, oh, Oprah, that's cool. Wait, you were on Tosh.0? No way. What's he like in real life? So each one of those represents a really fun, unique opportunity. But I think for at the time and when everything was going on, being able to be on Oprah was kind of the pinnacle, because that's where everyone wanted to be. You know, I mean, when I was on Oprah, they did a YouTube special, and they had the founders of YouTube, David and Steve, who were notorious for not doing interviews, not going on television shows. They had just sold like 2 months earlier for the $1.2 billion that Google had bought them for. And I remember asking one of them, I was like, what made you guys decide to do the show? You don't do a lot of shows. And the guy just goes, well, it's Oprah. Like, that was his whole answer. There was no explanation needed. He's just like, it was Oprah. You know, she called and asked, and we said yes.
Of course. Why wouldn't you?
Exactly. Well, and it's always funny. I love this too. Like, you always get to see behind the scenes stuff. And there was a surprise guest on our episode where Patrick Swayze, when he was still alive, came on to surprise a couple that had gone viral from recreating the dance from Dirty Dancing. And everyone cheered, everyone went nuts. And then they were in commercial break, and the 2 founders are talking to Oprah, and they asked her, oh, did you know Patrick Swayze was going to be here? And she just looked at them and she was like, yeah, it's my show. No one surprises me.
You can't surprise Oprah.
Yeah. So I thought that was really funny. Like, sometimes people think those shows, and they do, they have a huge staff and they have a lot of moving parts. But at the end of the day, Oprah was always really good about, this is my name, this is my company, this is my show. I want to make sure that everything that happens is something I'm aware of and I take responsibility for. And that's one of the things that I think I always admired about her, is she's never blamed anyone else. She had some instances where people kind of snuck onto her show, and that they had wrote a book or plagiarized a book or lied about what was in the book. And after the fact, she wasn't making excuses. She just said, we got duped. I got duped.
Right.
It was my decision to let them on the show, and I apologize to anyone that feels wrongly because of that. Right.
Absolutely. I want to get back to your reference of Ellen, and you're a fan of hers because of her comedic expertise. That's a great transition into your content, because one of the things that I really like about you and what you do is you talk about how you bring comedy and inspiration. And what a great combination. You touch on that a little bit for us?
Sure, absolutely. When I was in graduate school, I studied how to use games and activities to teach leadership and emotional intelligence. And this is back in the mid to late 90s. And emotional intelligence was still kind of a new buzzword. People were talking a lot about it. There wasn't a lot of research behind it. They didn't know. And so I kind of dived into this world of emotions and brain chemistry and neuroscience. And I am by no means an expert in neuroscience. I don't have a degree in neuroscience or biology, but as you learn and as you gather information about the way the brain functions, one of the things that really always stood out to me is an emotional brain, when certain things happen within our brain from an emotional standpoint, is much stronger for memory than what's just called a cognitive brain or a resting brain. And I'm very lucky and very blessed that I don't have a sad story. I've I've overcome some things in life, but I've never had to experience true, unbelievable tragedy. And so when I was thinking about how to craft a show that would be memorable to people, I turned to comedy as the emotion that I wanted to elicit, the laughter aspect. And so I studied a lot about comedy and, the structure of comedy and those things. And it really helps make the program that you're watching more enjoyable, more entertaining, and more engaging, because when you're crafting a show and you're trying to do this thing, you want to create an up and down emotional experience. And laughter is one of the best emotions that we can do that nobody complains about. I've never heard anyone get angry because they were laughing.
Right.
Now, maybe once in a while there's an inappropriate place to have a laugh or, things like that. But no one gets done watching a funny movie or watching a good comedian. It's just like, man, I can't believe I laughed that much. I got to stop doing that. Like, that's just not good for me. You really got to get rid of this habit. So being able to use humor works for both. It works for me on stage because it's much more enjoyable for me. And then I believe it also helps the audience to stay engaged and to help drive home and anchor some of the ideas that I present, if you can attach laughter to go along with them.
And plus, your content is fantastic too. And one of the things that I really like about what you speak about, and one of my favorite quotes that I've seen from you, is talking about change. And I'm paraphrasing here, but it's along the lines of good companies manage change, but exceptional companies start to lead evolution. Can you talk a little bit about how you define the two of those and how those good companies start to go into that evolution track?
Sure, absolutely. They're very similar. It's like one of those old analogies that you would have to take on like a standardized test, in that all evolution is change, but not all change is evolution. Just because something changes doesn't mean that it necessarily evolves. And I kind of define the two as, what's the reason behind it? Is the long-term reason for this change taking place or being implemented in order to better something? Whether that's better your product, better your service, better your employees, better your bottom line. Is it being done because there's a reason behind it? Whereas a lot of times with change, it's just because you feel like you need to, or, well, everybody else is changing, or this is something that we've heard about or talked about it, and kind of just feeling like the need to change versus having a strategic reason to do it, because once you get through it, the next aspect is going to be better. So there's a thing that I studied. I use it sometimes. I don't always use it all the time as far as a visual within the context of the show. But this is kind of an example of what I kind of base it on. But it's a thing called a Sigmund growth curve. And it starts off in biology, but it also deals with, so I'm showing a little picture of it real quick. And it basically just talks about the basic growth or kind of just overall life of an idea, of a product, of a concept that starts off in the development phase, the introduction phase, the growth, the maturity, and then eventually declines. And everything declines. Nothing in this world lasts forever. There's always going to be an up, 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 and eventually there's going to be a decline. Now, what happens to most people, as far as either within the business or just as individuals, as they're learning, as they're growing, they get to this part of the decline and they start to go downhill, and then they start panicking and thinking, "Oh my gosh, we got to do something. We got to change. We got to, you look at companies that have traditionally get used as an example of someone who didn't see what was coming down the road. Kodak, that invented the very thing that actually eventually took them down with the digital camera. They didn't embrace the idea of digital technology enough that they ended up going bankrupt because they couldn't get back up, so to say. But the real people who lead evolution and the real good leaders are the ones who kind of look at this as adding one onto the other continually. And so while they're in the growth and while things are going good, they don't just say, okay, we're going to ride this until we can't ride it anymore. They go, okay, everything's great now and we're really appreciating this, but what's next? What do we have to do next in order to avoid this long decline down over here? And then they kind of start the whole thing over again. Now, the hard part is they know that this area right here isn't going to be easy. It's going to be hard. It's going to be challenging. It's going to be a struggle. It's going to be painful. But the fact that they're going to continue to go up is what they're looking for. So people who lead evolution as opposed to just managing change, and there's nothing wrong with managing change. That's all part of the whole concept, so to say. But if you don't think about what's going to be next, The next thing you know, you're going to be managing things that are down here, scrambling to try to save whatever it is your business is, whatever it is your concept is, whatever it is your product is. And you might be successful. There's lots of stories of businesses that have risen from the grave to continue to move on. But the most successful ones and the most successful leaders are the people who are constantly leading the evolution, the next best iteration, the next best thing that goes up, and they just keep doing it over and over and over again.
That's really interesting. And one of the things that you also say that really caught my attention is that change is inevitable, but evolving is not. And as you just mentioned, evolving is strategy. It takes strategy. It takes thought. It takes recognizing where you are. Why is it that you think companies get stuck in that change management and can't get out of it? What happens? What have you seen happen to organizations that stops them from going to the next level?
I think part of it is human nature. When most people are successful, when most people are good at what they do from a business standpoint, it's hard to admit that there might be a time coming down the road when they're not going to be. It's easy, and part of that is because every company, every organization has working parts and different people with different ideas and different concepts, and that's why it's so important to have someone who understands about leading the evolution and saying, okay, hey, everything's going great. I admit it, that's awesome, but this isn't going to last forever. Because as human beings, even just us as physically as human beings, we're constantly changing. Every breath we take, biology happens within our body. We breathe out carbon dioxide. On a molecular level, we're changing. And the world is changing. The world's a big, complex place. There's almost 9 billion people on the planet. Things are always changing. The world's moving all the time. It's rotating. So things are always different. Change simply means to make different. But evolution is whatever's going to be different going to be better. If I woke up tomorrow morning and decide, you know what, I'm gonna go dye my hair blue. That would technically be a change. It's different than it was before, but that doesn't mean that my hair is going to be better.
Right.
And so one of the things that I think, and for some people, it can be exhausting to constantly think about being better, about doing what's next. And this isn't on a timeline that it has to be every single day. For a lot of people or a lot of companies, it's sometimes taking a day or two once a year and just checking in with, are we strategically doing the things that we need to do in order to get better, in order to grow, in order to become the next iteration of ourselves? Or are we just kind of hopping along at the same thing over and over? And sometimes the answer is yes. What we're doing now is great. But always in the back of your mind thinking that maybe, just maybe, we have to be careful of not getting too complacent. And there was a couple years ago, Nokia. Nokia is a great example of a company that kind of got ahead of that did unbelievably well, but didn't take advantage or didn't see what was coming down the road. There was a letter that one of the CEO had sent out several years ago about this thing called the burning platform syndrome. It's a philosophical question that if you woke up in the middle of the night, you're an oil worker on an oil rig in the middle of the ocean, and the entire platform is on fire. The whole oil rig is on fire. What do? You only have one or two choices. You can either stay on the platform, and obviously you're gonna perish in the fire, or you have to jump off into the ocean and hope that you can tread water long enough for someone to come and rescue you or to be saved. And he was referencing the fact that they as a company were on the burning platform. At one time, Nokia held almost a 60% global share of the cell phone market. That meant 6 out of every 10 phones was a Nokia cell phone.
I remember that, yes.
Yeah. Most everybody had one. Most everyone played Snake or Brick or whatever, those crazy games were.
Right.
And somehow, some way or another, they didn't see the smartphone as a viable evolution. Now, we don't have all the records. We don't know if somebody said, oh, hey, we think this is going to happen. And all the executives were like, no, it's not. We're too big. We're too proud. But they went from a 60% global share, to nothing. They eventually went bankrupt. And I think somebody bought them and someone's trying to come back and they're making new Nokias now, but they've got such a far way to go. Whereas you look at a company like Apple, love them, hate them, doesn't matter. Apple's never really invented much of anything recently. They just take the ideas and they evolve those ideas constantly. They just had a conference yesterday to announce all of the new changes that they've got. And some of them are great, but there's not really anything in there that's life-changing. But that's all anyone's talking about over the next couple of days is what are the changes coming to the new operating system? And software is such a good example of something that's constantly evolving. You know, everyone's always trying to make their software better, more efficient, more customer friendly, all those types of things. And we don't necessarily have to look at our business as that. We don't need to come out with a business version 2.1, 2.2, you know, all the time. But kind of having that mindset of knowing that there's always ways to grow and get to that next level of iteration.
Right, and to be better. I love the reminder that different is not better, and
exactly,
and better requires strategy very often.
Yeah, and it requires strategy, and it requires dedication and making a decision to do it. You know, and that's one of the things I like so much about the customer service revolution is the people who are there have made a decision to consciously think about what they can do to be better. Versus a lot of people in life who say, "Oh, yeah, it'd be great to be better, but I don't really want to like actually do anything. Can I just by like osmosis get better? Like, won't I just naturally grow better?" And yeah, there's some philosophical thought to that the longer you do something, the better you become at it. But it's usually the people who are strategic about it, who really think about it, plan for it, and then implement those plans that really see that accelerated evolution.
Right, and the ones that put the effort into it as opposed to just waiting for it to happen to them.
Yeah,
by doing the same thing over and over.
You know, especially, you know, you use reference now of social media. People are like, well, if I just start putting like YouTube videos up, eventually I'll get famous, right?
Right.
And maybe 10 years ago, if you would have been one of the first ones, yeah, you might have. But now it's much more difficult, and it takes much more strategy and implementation of that strategy to build an online presence that's going to be successful in whatever business you happen to be in.
Absolutely. And I got to tell you, I'm so excited to see you on the stage at the Customer Service Revolution, hear your message in person. One of the things that you also talk about are some practical strategies to lead your own evolution. Can you just kind of touch on that and give our audience a little bit of a glimpse of what that's about?
Sure. And we touched a little bit on one, investing in things that are going to better you. Whatever that might be from you personally. Sometimes that just means a new course. Obviously, signing up and attending the Customer Service Revolution Conference is number one. But thinking about the things that we do, and I get it. I was a recreation undergrad, so I'm also a firm believer in taking time for yourself and doing things that are fun and that are just for play. But they don't have, everything doesn't have to have a desired outcome of making you better. Mm-hmm. But to honestly make decisions, if you talk, I read a thing the other day that was saying that a lot of the younger generation isn't reading as far as books go. They're reading online and they're watching videos, but they're not consuming books. And, books to me are one of the most simple ways that people can lead their own evolution. Just choosing to read for 20 minutes a day in a book that's within your field or that will help you in some aspect of your job, or is, any one of the amazing books that a lot of the speakers have written that'll be at this year's Customer Service Revolution. Any one of those books is probably going to make you a little bit better. And then the other one we'll touch on is the one that is kind of more of a mindset aspect, is less focus on why and more focus on what next. And what I mean by that is I think a lot of people spend a little too much time with the why me question. Why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to our business? Why is the world going this way? Why is this happening? And not enough time focusing on, okay, what do we need to do next in order to continue moving forward? Now, I'm not talking about the why, like Simon Sinek says, why, always start with why. Why we do what we do is always important. But when something happens to us that we don't have any control over, a lot of people sometimes spend too much time in that trying to figure out why this happened to us, as opposed to saying, you know what, it happened, doesn't mean I have to like it, but now I got to figure out what choices I need to make in order to continue moving forward towards that strategic plan that I have in order to get to where it is I want to go.
Wow, that's great. And I can tell already that's going to be a powerful message for a lot of people in our audience to really start thinking that way, because we get caught up in the why me and some of those thought processes sometimes. So I think that's a great message.
Well, excellent. Yeah, and we all do. Everyone does it. And I'm not saying I don't. It's just one of those things that we constantly need to hear over and over and over again. And part of it is learning how to, and we'll talk a little bit about that in the program as well, what we can now do from even just a neuroscience standpoint to help that process of getting out of that why me mindset. Because that why me is kind of an emotional reaction. I'm not talking about the ability to take a step back and look at things from a 1,000-foot view to see if you cannot figure out what caused something or the reasoning behind it. But sitting in that emotional reaction standpoint of the kind of why me versus the make a choice and move forward with the what now aspect.
Right. I love that. What now? That's great. So, Judson, my last question for you is this. You've already alluded to it. Our audience at the Customer Service Revolution Conference. They're business leaders, some business owners that have an understanding that the customer experience they deliver is really vital to their organization. It separates them from their competition in most cases. So I'm just curious, of all the content, all the things we talked about, maybe something we haven't talked about yet, what are you most excited about delivering to an audience like this?
There's a lot of things, definitely. And it's funny because as I was preparing for this and I'm going through stuff, it'll be not difficult. I'll just have to figure out exactly what it is I'm going to want to say, because a lot of times I have so much information that I like to share, and you have stuff that doesn't make sense in the flow of the time allotted and things like that. So I don't know for 100% if this will get in there, but one of the things I've always loved about customer service and the idea was something that I was taught to me. I spent many years as a server working in different restaurants, and my very first serving job was at TGI Fridays, like my first real structured one. And I had a great trainer. And one of the things that she taught me was, she said, listen, every customer you interact with today is a one-on-one interaction, which means I'm their only server probably today. Even though I'm going to wait on 35, 40 tables in a shift, every single one of those tables to me is just a one-on-one interaction. And she said, it's really difficult it's really easy to forget that. It's difficult to remember that. And she was basically trying to help me realize that what happens with one table, I cannot carry that into the next table. I have to be able to compartmentalize those things. So as we try new things in customer service, as we work on things, you're never going to get everything right. It's going to be bad customer experiences, sometimes through no fault of anyone's, just because something happened externally that you couldn't even really deal with. Or if you get a bad customer. A lot of times in life we forget that there are people out there who are really bad customers, and there's nothing that you could do that was going to make them happy.
That's right. We always say sometimes customers need to be fired.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, nothing's worse than those customers that, nobody wants to deal with. And so being able to say, okay, I have to, remembering on twofold. One, as a frontline representative, that every interaction I have with a customer, their ratio to me is 1-to-1. Even though my ratio, from frontline employee to customers might be 1 to 100 in a day or 1,000 in a month and things like that. And trying to make sure that you don't let things carry into the next one and treat each one as a unique individual interaction. So I don't know if that'll make that in. That's one of the things that I'm always really excited about.
Yeah.
But the other thing that I definitely know will make it in is that struggle is okay. I think as human beings, when I shared this little thing earlier, this little area right here is a big reason I think people also don't continually do this, because we know that this is going to be hard. Like, we know that this is going to be a challenge, there's going to be difficulties, there's going to be a struggle. And most of us don't think of struggle as a positive thing. We only think of it as in a negative thing. But the fact of the matter is most of the things in life that are challenging, that we struggle through, they give us strength. And those are the places that we grow the most. Evolution doesn't happen in the calm. It kind of happens in the chaos. And so we have to be able to be willing to go into struggle in order to come out better on the other side.
Great points. I am so excited to see you on stage. Judson, thank you so much for joining us today.
Sure, my pleasure.
And I can't wait to see you at the Customer Service Revolution. For those of you that have not booked yet, it is October 24th and October 25th. It's on your screen right now. In beautiful Cleveland, Ohio. I will be driving in from the east side. Judson will be driving in from the west side.
West side.
And we will see you in downtown Cleveland. If you have not booked your tickets yet, you can do so at this website that's on the screen, customerservicerevolution.com. Please be sure to book your tickets. Join us for Judson and the other fantastic speakers we will have at this year's Customer Service Revolution. Again, October 24th and 25th, 2018, Cleveland, Ohio. Judson, thank you again. It was great to have you on our show today.
My pleasure. Thank you very much. And of course, at the end of my presentation, we will be performing live.
Yes.
The evolution of dance. So, which is always funny because at the end, I'm always just like, and then I dance.
Well, you have, it's almost like a 2-for-1 show, right? You have so much great content, and then we get to see what 300 million viewers have also seen already. So it must be good.
I don't get to really go anywhere without doing the dance right now.
Yes. Well, excellent. We can't wait. Thanks again for joining us today.
My pleasure. We'll see everyone in October.
All right. And we'll see you next time on the Customer Service Revolution Preview Show. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.